It's great to have such a group to talk about Lego Church. And it's my absolute pleasure and privilege to introduce you to my colleague, Judy Harris, who's the Children Youth Development Officer in the Synod of Wales. And in a few minutes' time, I'll also be joined by the Reverend Helen Whitfield Carr, who is in the East Midlands Synod. And they will be our presenters this evening. They are both involved in different ways and different forms of Lego Church, and they're going to share their experience and wisdom and expertise with us this evening. And then once they've both spoken, we'll get a chance, we'll give you an opportunity to choose which one you'd like to hear a little bit more from. So, for any more from me, let me introduce first of all Judy. As I say, is a Children's Development Officer in the Synod of Wales, and she's going to kick off the evening for us. Thank you, Judy.
Good evening, everyone. I got asked to do this, and then I realised that it was entitled Theology Underpinning Lego Church, and I was like, oh, I'm not a theologian. So yeah, I'm not a theologian, but I'm passionate about play and spirituality. And so tonight we're going to kind of quickly go through ideas behind playful spirituality. I'm going to share my screen with you just to divert attention from me, particularly more than anything. So playful spirituality. Exploring playful spirituality, you have to understand that children, more than anybody, are experts in play. Hang on, children are play experts. They understand what play is, and they do it excellently. But play is a truly intergenerational experience. Children might be naturals at play, but we all have played through the course of our life. You hardly need any resources or encouragement when playing with children. They can do it almost anywhere and with almost anyone. But unfortunately, as adults, we have forgotten how to do this, and sometimes need to be given an opportunity to tap into our playfulness once more. Play is a thing of the spirit. Playfulness is a spiritual practice. And so just as we learn best through play, we can also express spiritual thought through play. And we can develop spirituality in a playful way. We already do this to a certain extent in church. Through baptisms, through communion, we engage in a creative, playful way to express the things of the Spirit. And we play with our fears and our hopes, with big emotions, our problem-solving skills. We can also explore concepts and experiences in a way that can't always be necessarily expressed in words. We can enable theology to develop through our play. Godly play and other forms of reflective storytelling, playfulness and playfulness see a response to a Bible story or a spiritual encounter which can be deep and meaningful in a way that words can't always express. But play is without any purpose. It's how we engage our bodies and our minds with each other, with the world, and we do it for fun and for the joy of it. Playfulness is a practice that shapes our souls. It connects us. It's an act of belief in ourselves, and it's a powered by our faith in life. It brings us to places of wonder and moments of joy. And within our play, we experience a sense of community, of shared experience, as well as an openness to wonder, using open questions where no answer is wrong. And using Lego is a truly intergenerational experience, which engages everyone through memory and experience and creativity. when working with Lego, you engage in a leaning in experience where everyone gets involved through problem solving, discussion, questioning. You're literally leaning in to get the bricks and to play with the Lego. And this is the opposite of leaning out, where we're just sitting listening with very little interaction. So Lego Church is always about leaning in and exploring, using challenge, building, sharing in our playful spirituality, which involves you in setting out a challenge of a concept, which you then build, and you then share what you've built and why it also represents something for you. And we can include individual builds that can be a chance to build something maybe from just 6 bricks that maybe represent how you reflect your faith, and encourages everyone with a chance to talk about their build if they wish. And then you create a group build, which represents whatever aspect of spirituality or mission or discipleship or reflecting on a Bible passage that you're exploring, looking at the connections with them and how they reflect our missional aspirations, creating the model to reflect what are the similarities or the differences in the models, and then looking at how you might want to develop that. But what you build is unique to you and to your church. It reflects your thoughts, and it encourages you to ask questions about what is the significance of what you've built. So we listen with our eyes by looking at the models created, as well as listening to the discussions. So playful spirituality not only enables community building in our churches, but also helps us to develop and deepen spirituality and theology, and also engages intergenerationally, whatever medium you use. But Lego Church is one of the best mediums because it taps into the memories of play, and it's accessible to everyone, regardless of age and ability, primarily because most people will have encountered Lego throughout their lives and have memories of playing with Lego throughout their lives. So that's a kind of brief overview of what the spirituality of playfulness is, and hopefully it is worked out through Lego Church. So I'm going to hand over now to a practitioner of Lego Church and hand over to Helen.
I'm not sure I'd call myself a practitioner. I'm doing it, but I'm in no way an expert. And interestingly, what Judy's just described to you, I don't know whether you're sharing resources today or not, Judy, but the structure that Judy's kind of just described to you is what's in these books. So I've got Building Faith, and I also brought this one, which wasn't as helpful, but that's the main one that kind of gives you a structure as to how to do Lego Church. However, what we then did, so the whole thing, for me, I saw massive similarities between Messy Church and also with Godly Play. So, for instance, the I wonder questions is very much a Godly Play thing that kind of stood out to me. And it's got a very structured, each page gives you a different story, and it's got a very structured system of how you can do your sessions. However, what we've done is adapted it to work for us and our situation. So first of all, the church that we were originally going to do it in has no money. We're skint. Lego is expensive. So that was our first challenge, is what are we going to do? My attitude is you work with what you've got. So we put an appeal out for anybody to donate, and we're surprised, because Lego is expensive, even secondhand is expensive. We were surprised with how many boxes and random things we were given in donations. So that was our first port of call. And we also brought the fake Lego. We bought tons of the cheap fake Lego from it was from Wilko's, but obviously Wilko's isn't around now. But I think B&M do a version, you can get it online. And we bought big boxes, massive boxes of just multi-mixed stuff. It depends how many you're going to have there as to how much you think you need. The bigger selection, the better. But if you really don't have much money or you're not getting much donations in, it's amazing what kids can do with quite a small amount. So that was our starting point. We actually applied to a little local fundraising kind of entity that we have in Desborough, and they gave us, I think they gave us £100 to start with. So that was great. We spent about £60, £70 on it, and then the rest we bought to buy a little bit of refreshments and things like that. It ended up that we've actually started doing it at a different church, and we're doing it in conjunction with the Baptists. So we're doing it as a joint across the churches. Now, first of all, do not use the word Lego, because you will be done for copyright. And be very careful what images you use as well. My one church in Desborough has totally different to Lego Church, but they have a Lego build session. They had what is called a cease and desist order from Lego themselves, saying, remove our name and all advertisement from Lego build, else we will sue. Now, we might be just little old churches doing a little bit of stuff. Personally, I'm not prepared to take the risk. We call it Brick Church, not Lego, and worded it in saying using construction bricks. So again, make sure any images you put on your advertisements are ones that you're allowed to use publicly. What you choose to use in your church, whether you choose to breach copyright, is none of my business. But if you're doing public advertisements on Facebook, be really careful, because Lego are really, really hot on it. So we call it Brick Church, and it's construction bricks, and we make sure that our advertisements are generic photos that are public domain, and we won't be sued by Lego. So just our experience is they did chase us and they did threaten to sue us. So be careful. From there, then we decided what's going to work. And for us, our kids have got a lot going on, decided after school or an evening wasn't going to work. What we do is very different, and we do after church on a Sunday. We've got quite a lot of kids that don't want to go home after church. They want to play in the garden, or they want to do something together, or they want to have a picnic. So we decided for us, after church work. So we do church, we have a picnic, and then we get Lego Church out and we start doing that. So a lot of the structure we've took out, because those children have just sat through worship already. So hence we do it quite different. But that's for our context. You might feel you need that, the questions, the quiet time within that. Ours have already had their quiet time. And then we pick a story. And I'll be honest, the story that I pick is usually the best Lego video that I can find. So I will look on Lego, because there's loads and loads of Lego videos out there. And I'm like, I always start my sessions with the video of the story. And I will look and search for a video that I think is great. So far we've done creation. We've done Jesus Walks on Water. So we've done a few different ones. And we start with the video. Bear in mind, we've already had our prayer time in worship, and all the kind of serious elements have already kind of happened before we've gathered. So we do a video, talk to them about the story very briefly, and then we have 5 or 6 tables set up. One is always colouring, and then we have 5 or 6 questions to stimulate what do you want to build. I thought the first time we did it, the kids are just going to go and play and they're not really going to focus. I was amazed how engaged they were with the actual story. They do things completely off the wall, and you're like, okay, how's that connected? And they'll tell you, because actually they are focusing on the story. So for instance, we did Jesus Walks on Water, and we said Jesus was scared when they saw him walking on the water. They thought he was a ghost. Can you build something scary? So sometimes it's very narrow what we ask them to build. Sometimes it completely can be anything. I mean, one teenager went, I went, what on earth's that? She went, I built an electric chair. I'm like, oh, okay, why? And she went, well, an electric chair is scary, isn't it? okay. So they go off in a totally different direction sometimes, but still, it's amazing how the kids still root it in the video and the story that they've just watched. So we'll have different stories and questions, and I always introduce them. I'll say that table's that question, that's that, and then we let them go and do what they want to. It requires minimal leadership. We have teas and coffees and refreshments going on. It requires a minimal leadership, really, because what I then do is, once I've introduced it and done our formal bit at the beginning, I then become a float and I go around and right, come on then, what are you doing with it? What are you looking at? What are you building? Where we said Jesus went to the mountain to pray. What's your safe space that you might go to? Can you build a safe space? I've got living rooms and fish tanks and all sorts of bizarre things, but they were like, oh, that makes me feel safe. I like that place. And I tend to go around and float and ask them and interact with the children. What are you building? What are you doing? And they love us taking photos. So I always say to them, not you, just your things. And we always take photos of every single thing that they build. And they love that because they feel like they're achieving something and they've got something. And we have a place centrally normally where anything they build, they can move it and put it together. And so as he's got a very, very fluid, loose sort of pattern to it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else more specific. The other thing is we do have a lot of children with additional needs, my own children included. I don't know whether any of you have ever used Widget before, but we keep our questions really simple because all of our instructions are done in Widget. And you might have heard my printer going because I was just printing one off because I'm not sure I can screen share. But for those who haven't seen Widget, it's picture form. And we do all of our questions in picture form on Widget. Again, the URC does Widget training and it's absolutely fantastic. So basically, any of the children can pick this up. And even if they can't read properly, they might be able to interpret from some of the pictures on the Widget. You might have a better image to share of Widget, Judy. I don't know whether you have or Richard. But Widget is essentially all of our instructions are written out in Widget. So we're trying to be more inclusive for those children who have got additional needs. And we always have a table with no Lego that is colouring or a quieter space for those children that might find it a little bit overwhelming to be surrounded by all these bricks and things that are going on. As is a family thing, so children don't come unattended. It's a family invite. So we get parents there as well. And we've even had some elderly folk who have gone, I've never played with Lego before, can I join you? And we're like, it's for anybody, it's not for children. And we've got quite a selection of older people who've enjoyed coming along. And they sit, and once you put them around the table, they become as one. There's almost like no age difference. I've got somebody who's just turned 80 who's sitting there playing with 5-6-year-olds and building things together, and you wouldn't notice the age difference, but she's of a generation that never had Lego, so she absolutely loves it. And has this very, and I always say to them, there's no end. You keep building, but if you're still here at 3 o'clock, I might throw you out. And we have a loose ending. So you can see my structure of what has worked for us is very different to the formal structure. If you were doing it as its own entity on an afternoon after school or of an evening, you might feel you need the prayer and the structure within that, or a closing down time together. But because ours is just after worship, it's much more fluid than that, and it flows a little bit better, a little bit more differently to that. So I think that's probably given you an idea of what we've done and how we've come along with it. And then sort of later on, if
that's great. Thank you, Helen. Just one quick question, because it's in the chat. I thought I'll just get you to answer that now. In terms of the cost for Widget, do you know off the top of your head, Helen, what the
Right, it was originally £50 plus VAT when we first signed up for the basic package. I've just been on, because our renewals due. Again, we've got no money, so we're trying to get grant funding to get that from this little local entity that funds local youth work. And I think the renewal cost is £90 including VAT.
Okay, so
but we use Widget. We use Widget at Messy Church. We use it at Brick Church. We've started using it on our PowerPoints for some simple hymns. So if you've got a chorus that repeats, we've used it on the screen for the PowerPoints when we're doing hymns occasionally. And we've also, my one church has got it everywhere. So we've got a lot of children that we know use it, because special needs schools use widget a lot. And we've got a lot of children at special needs school, and we've got it on toilet doors, on cupboards. So everything is labelled with widgets, so that if they can't read and you say to the child, oh, go in the kitchen, it's in the kitchen, they can spot the symbol and work from that way. So
Great. And that's an annual subscription, isn't it?
It's an annual subscription, yeah. And the training we had from the URC was fantastic.
Yeah, I do know that the synods, I think, might also have individual access to it. So if it's just one or two things you want printed off occasionally, it might be that your CYDO Plus representative can help. Thank you.